Hello and welcome back. This is Grillenheimer. Just a few weird things to note. Um, oh gosh, is that today was the inauguration of the new president. Um, there we go, slightly better angle. Um, Inauguration of the new president. Lady Gaga sang the anthem, and then someone else sang some more patriotic tunes that I haven't heard in years. Um, and when she sang the anthem, no Democrats took a knee. Interesting. Um, oh gosh. And then there's some journalists are starting to slip information that stuff they had, things that we've known on the other side all along. The Washington Times had a story, not on page one, not on page two, not on page three, somewhere deep in the New York Times, um, about that the Biden and his administration is going to have to work on getting the economy back prior to COVID. Well, who was president prior to COVID? Well, it was the beginning of Trump's fourth year. So they're basically praising Trump's economy. Oops. Coming from the New York Times. And then today, Biden is calling the right wing, for lack of or the conservatives, domestic bad guys. And then calls for unity in the same sentence, nearly in his speech. And I'm like, how's that calling for unity? You just called out one group of people and gave a label on them that in previous Democrat, even when he was vice president, when we had to deal with a foreign enemy across the ocean, oh, we couldn't say the T word. Oh, don't call him that. He just called his own, more than at least half the population of his own country, the T word. I mean, we've been called deplorables and chumps and all this other crap by previous people on the left. This isn't calling for unity. And they said Trump was supposedly was instigating the violence at the Capitol, which leads me to another thing. Oh goodness. And again, buried in the Washington Post from National Pulse or something like that, they actually admitted Trump did not encourage the riot. The attack was pre-planned. So they basically exonerated Trump, saying, "Oh, well, it's not Trump's fault. It's just his supporters." Forget that some of them were BLM activists and whatnot. Really interesting and weird things. Not all of them. I'm not saying all of them, but I've come out on a couple of Facebook posts and on YouTube comments how these people that we supposedly, gosh, I feel like BCP now. He does that a lot. I like that guy. I don't know his real name, but I just call him Marcus because he just looks like a Marcus. Or is it just me? But it seems like a real nice guy. But he, oh gosh, that basically like exonerating that Trump was not behind this. And on that same note, that's where I was going with, that while they try to blame some of the riots on Trump supporters, then the rest of us that all are the deplorables, as Hillary once called us, which probably helped Trump get into office in 2016, which they tried to deny and say was all false and illegitimate president. He ain't my president, and screaming and crying all over the internet like little babies 4 years ago, whatever. Which was hilarious in itself. I'm sorry, but it was funny. And I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry, but yeah. So they take a couple of bad eggs for these riots and put us all in that category. And then Biden himself in his speech, we are all the T word, that Democrats won't ever call people, foreign countries, the T word. Oh, we can't do that. And we're too nice. We can't do that. But he just labeled all of us terrorists, and I'm just like, what? What is this man doing? Oh my gosh. And then he has to go on about, and three things you just don't do if you're wanting unity. If they still try to go after impeaching Trump after today, that's not calling unity. Heck, even in 1974, Ford pardoned Nixon for a nice, smooth transition. And Ford felt it was the only way to help heal the country at the time. And Nixon went on his way and, did well for himself the rest of his life, from the sounds of it. But then, and why? Here's a good question: why would a journalist report Biden complaining that his military, that he's afraid of, are all white supremacists, and that that Trump never had to protect himself from the U.S. troops? Boy, that's a baited kind of news article, wouldn't you think? I forgot where that came from. And then the immigration crisis that's now upon us yet again. We'll see where all this is going. And at the end of it all, I was hearing on the radio, I don't know who said this, but they're like, it feels like we just had a church service and nobody wants to go home, and people are hugging and kissing, and but there's nowhere to go because all the restaurants are closed. And no one's practicing social distancing after the end of the inauguration, the few people that were there, for what I understand. And then Sotomayor, if I'm getting her name right, it didn't sound like she pronounced Kamala Harris's name right. And I understand if you pronounce her name right, they put a label on you like that. Oh, you're bad. Oh, you're a this. Oh. Hit that tweet button. Say naughty words. Put on the GIFs. We're making fun of you. We're canceling you. What? But Sotomayor, it sounded like she pronounced our vice president's name wrong, who is the first, depending on who you listen to, which I find hilarious, the first African American, the first Latino, the first South Asian, the first Jamaican. And I'm thinking, okay, pick a race. We know how you love putting people in boxes and labels and being racist yourselves. Pick one. But depending on who you listen to, they're going to say a different kind of race designation, which just floors me. And I'm like, okay, and now that everything is hearsay, with the election and whatnot, no one's talking about that. 4 years of trying to undo the 2016 election, but when Biden gets elected by the electors, or us or whatever, that we can't look into that. We can't look into see how Biden became president and make sure that he's not illegitimate, but he is. Or is he? No, he's not. Well, which is it? There was no validity to a lot of the questions people had about what happened in November. It was free and fair election. Get over it. For the last 40 years didn't do anything. We did. A lot of nervous looking people just repeating on the other side. Fair and free election. Fair and free election. It was a fair and free election. I'll leave it at that. It's January 20th. And speaking of which, the Politico has had this apparently. PJ Media, something. The Politico actually printed today that in the past, during his campaign in 2020, that on occasion that Biden would rehearse and memorize the main points that he wanted to get across in his campaigns or his debates or whatever it was, and he would get so irritable that he would like yell at the aide helping him, and he's like, I would never say this. Why would I say this? And the aide's like, well, you said it 2 weeks ago, sir. Biden had forgotten what he had said just 2 weeks ago, yelling at his aide who was writing his stuff for him to say on a teleprompter or to memorize, is yelling at the poor person, I wouldn't say this. But you did. You've forgotten. And so the Politico is basically, as of now, letting us know of his cognitive abilities are not quite where they should be. We all saw this. It's going to be an interesting presidency and an interesting 4 years to come to see what's going to happen. He's going to try to undo a lot of things that Trump has done. There might be some expectation on the Biden administration on seeing how Trump helped the economy, because I don't think they know how. Trump was a businessman, prior to the quarantines and everything, prior to the Ides of March, as I'll put it that way, of 2020. We were doing great up until then, and it wasn't really Trump's fault. If it's a world pandemic, how could it be his fault? Of all the people that not just died here, died in Africa, died in South America, died in Italy, died in France, died in the UK, died in China. Trump isn't the president over them. He tried his best to close our borders for a while so we wouldn't get too many influx of people spreading the disease to us, even though it was probably already here in 2019, not before 2020. Not to mention, I can remember all the different things that Dr. You know who I'm talking about. January, he would say one thing. The 1st of February, he would say another. By the end of February, he was saying something else. By March 1st, he would say something. By the middle of March, he would say, flip-flop, 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 flip-flop Fauci. And now, we just can't go back. And my state is, it's like every so often, it's like, I feel like we're stuck in the movie, another Kathleen Kennedy thing, but it's a movie I liked, actually. Tom Hanks and the girl from Cheers. They bought the old house and they're trying to, the money pit. 2 weeks. When will it be done? 2 weeks. That was the running joke in that movie. Well, this is becoming the running joke for the masks. 2 months. So our date of our having to wear our mask, which I'm about ready to put 777 on mine as I go out. Maybe not. And because it's either that or the chip in your card. You got in your card. You got it on your head. head, hand, marks, having to go in, and you can't buy anything without them. You can't go in an establishment to pay for something without this on. Something to think about if you're God fearing. So just, I mean, I didn't go everything here on my cheat sheet, but just a lot of weird things to think about that have gone on just today. Just today. I'm not a political analyst. I listen to a lot of people. I listen to a lot of things. I make notes. I hear things myself. Try to check all news. And if you're listening to news that does nothing but spread hate and anger and labels and giving you only not the maybe one side of the story, but not the full story, maybe without being able to explain the whys of some of the things that are going on behind the scenes, that maybe you need to open up and check some other sources before they're gone too. Because there is no crossing the aisle. There is no, oh, well, maybe we should, give them a say. Oh, but that's misinformation. We got to delete them. Take out the server. Take them off the shops. Take them off this. Oh, we can't have them. Oh, they're too conservative. Oh, we that's not right. We can't. They can't be spreading those lies. Last night I got on Facebook and through my Transformer stuff, and I'm like, oh, cool, this person. I liked watching them and hearing them, and I got on them, and I opened up a few things, and I'm just reading, and I got into some political stuff. And it wasn't shocking, considering the part of the country this person lives in. I'm not going to say who it is or where they live or anything. And it wasn't shocking, but I just kept reading, and my eyes kept getting bigger. My blood kept boiling. And next thing I know, I'm scrolling and reading, and it's been going on 40 minutes. And it's nothing but hate, vitriol, mudslinging, labels, ugly, rude gifs, whatever you want to call them. And I'm just like, no wonder these people feel like they've got radishes under their fingernails and pepper up their bottoms or something. That's all these people are reading is all this hate, all this animosity, but for one person who was our president. And now that he's gone, where's that hate gonna go? Because hate is like a virus. It spreads. It feeds on itself. Hate is only the antithesis of love. And love can spread too. Good news can spread, but it's hard for some reason to hear good news nowadays. If it bleeds, it leads. It was a book. I had it. I forgot who the author was. I got rid of it in a yard sale. It was very redundant, but so I didn't quite finish the whole thing, but it was interesting. Suffice it to say, and it was an ex-journalist who wrote this book. And basically, if there was not anything newsworthy to report for the day, they would basically make up something. Basically make up crap, just for the sake of keeping the news going. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. When they have a slow news day and all you have is the weather and traffic, what can you do? And I think it was from a local level, but he was also talking on a cable national level as well. It was just very interesting. I can't remember who years ago suggested that book. and I found it and bought it. It was kind of cheap. And like I said, after a couple of chapters, it's a lot of the same things over and over. It's just different examples, different situations. But it was eye-opening as far as media and bad journalism is concerned, because there is almost no journalism anymore. Like I just even noticed and noted out of my cheat sheet here, is that the Politico knew of Biden's cognitive failings and failed to report on that prior to November 3rd. But now that he's inaugurated, oh, here it is. We knew all along. Really? Now's the time to be putting this out. Just the timing of this is just strange, just like the odd timing of at the time of the riots happened, Trump was not even completed his speech. He was still in the middle of it when people started going inside. The timing is wrong. I remember hearing somebody on the radio, YouTube somewhere, that these guys, Trump was still speaking. They went for a hot dog. They got a hot dog. There was somebody dressed all in black saying, "Oh, well, we're going to the Capitol now. Why don't you come with us?" And they're like, "But we're going to go back to the speech. He's not done yet." "Oh, well, come on. We're going to the Capitol now." And it was just, I'm like, in the man explaining this was even mentioned that this person even got caught. No, he didn't get caught, but when an explosion went off towards a police car or something to that effect, it was that same guy that lit the whatever to start a lot of chaos. And it was the same guy, because he turned around and looked at them. He ran off. He was gone, and they never saw him again. Those two guys never saw the man in black again. Boy, that sounds like Princess Bride. And then there was another video that I have also been spreading here on Facebook and wherever I can, where these people were milling around. They were out on the front, around the Capitol. There was these blazers or whatever, parked up at the front, and this one guy gets on top of the truck or Bronco or whatever it is, and he wasn't all in black. He was like wearing a jacket and jeans, and he's got this rainbow thing hanging off the back of his head. Rainbow. That doesn't scream MAGA to me. Now, I will say that there's a lot of a large LGBTQP whatever people that also did like Trump, that did also support Trump. Trump had a large Latino support. He had a large African American support. He also had even homosexual and LGBT. My tongue is getting twisted. The alphabet people support. He had some of them too. So could that have been one of them? Maybe, maybe not. To me, it was more of a flag that it wasn't one of us. It wasn't one of a MAGA person. Of course, I wasn't there. I was here. But on this video, he gets on top of this truck. He gets up there with a bullhorn and trying to get people to chant with him about "we're going in" and all this mess. And there's a few people chanting in the background with the guy. But in the video, you don't see anyone nearby actually chanting with him. A lot of people had their phones in their hands. They looked confused. And they're like, and videotaping him. This is the only video that I found, and I found it by accident. And I think I've mentioned this before, maybe. Oh gosh, I've been over 20 minutes. And he's inciting something. And then the other guy started something as well, dressed all in black. It's just, don't believe everything you hear. Um, it was just, and even I felt like there was something wrong with that day because I'm here working. I'm here working away, listening to the radio, and I'm like, something's going to happen. There's too many people in one spot. My even local radio was like, oh, there's hundreds of people there. There's only going to be hundreds of people. No, there were like hundreds of thousands of people there. And I'm thinking, bingo, 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 something bad is going to happen. I don't know what, but my spidey senses were going off January 6th before everything happened. It was like something was letting me know that it's not good. And of course, something bad did happen. A handful of people passed away. It was not good. And those who are to blame, it's all up in the air depending on what news you watch and listen to. So, with that, again, before one side destroys the press of another, I'll see you next time. Hopefully with more fun news like Transformers stuff and cards and the game and whatnot. But this was just too important. And if you don't listen to some of the media and news people I listen to, you may not get any of this. And it's here. You've got the New York Times, the Washington Post, and Politico. Those are some of these sources that I'm telling you where this stuff is coming from. So you can look it up yourself. Believe it or not. We'll see you next time. Have a blessed day.